Monks, on whatever occasion a monk trains thus, I shall breathe in, contemplating impermanence. Trains thus, I shall breathe out, contemplating impermanence. Trains thus, I shall breathe in, contemplating fading away. Trains thus, I shall breathe out, contemplating fading away. Trains thus, I shall breathe in, contemplating cessation. Trains thus, I shall breathe out, contemplating cessation. Trains thus, I shall breathe in, contemplating relinquishment. Trains thus, I shall breathe out, contemplating relinquishment. On that occasion, a monk abides contemplating Dhamma in Dhamma, ardent, fully aware and mindful, having put away covetousness and grief for the world. Having seen with wisdom the abandoning of covetousness and grief, he closely looks on with equanimity. That is why on that occasion, a monk abides contemplating Dhamma in Dhamma, ardent, fully aware and mindful, having put away covetousness and grief for the world. Monks, that is how mindfulness of breathing, developed and cultivated, fulfills the four Satipatthanas, intense states of mindfulness. So this last part, when you are contemplating the Dhamma, the Buddha's teachings, at the same time, of course, you are breathing, but your attention is more on the Dhamma. Your attention is not so much on the breathing. So at that time, you are practicing the fourth object of Satipatthana, contemplating the mind. So you can see here, just practicing Anapanasati, you are practicing the four Satipatthana. So unlike what nowadays some Vipassana monks say, they say that the Vipassana meditation is this Satipatthana, synonymous with Satipatthana meditation, but it is not. Because later you see in the next section, if you are actually practicing the four Satipatthana is equivalent to practicing the seven Bojjhanga, seven enlightenment factors. And we can see later that the seven enlightenment factors consist of certain factors which have to do with jhana. So if you cannot attain jhana, you are not practicing Satipatthana or the Bojjhanga, which is what the Satipatthana Sutta says in the Samyutta Nikaya. From this section, it's very clear. Anapanasati, the practice of Anapanasati is equivalent to the practice of the four Satipatthana. And how monks do the four Satipatthanas, intense states of mindfulness, develop and cultivated, fulfill the seven enlightenment factors. Monks, on whatever occasion, a monk abides contemplating the body in the body, ardent, fully aware and mindful, having put away covetousness and grief for the world. On that occasion, unremitting mindfulness is established in him. On whatever occasion, unremitting mindfulness is established in a monk. On that occasion, the mindfulness enlightenment factor is aroused in him, and he develops it. And by development, it comes to fulfillment in him. Abiding thus mindful, he investigates and examines that Dhamma with wisdom and embarks upon a full inquiry into it. On whatever occasion, abiding thus mindful, a monk investigates and examines that Dhamma with wisdom and embarks upon a full inquiry into it. On that occasion, the investigation of Dhamma, enlightenment factor, is aroused in him, and he develops it, and by development it comes to fulfillment in him. Stop here for a moment. So here the Buddha says, when a monk abides contemplating the body in the body, on that occasion unremitting mindfulness is established in him. If you all remember the Samyutta Nikaya, in the Satipatthana Samyutta, the Buddha gave a simile to make us understand how to practice Satipatthana. And this simile, the Buddha said that the most beautiful girl of the land came out, and then the men clapped their hands and shouted, most beautiful girl of the land. And then they asked her to sing and dance, and when she sang and danced, more people came out and clapped their hands. So an ordinary person, guy, came along, and he was caught by some people and forced to carry a bowl of oil filled to the brim. And they told him, we have somebody walking behind you with an uplifted sword, Now you walk among all the crowd of people, all the people, and if you spill even one drop of oil, we will chop off your head. So this guy has to carry the bowl of oil among the great crowd of people. Does he dare to look left and right? He dare not, because if he spills one drop of oil, he will lose his head. So he pays unremitting mindfulness to that bowl of oil. He walks without looking at anything else. He puts 100% attention on that bowl of oil for fear that it will spill. So that simile was given by the Buddha to make us understand how to practice Satipatthana, namely unremitting mindfulness on one object. Not many objects like what is taught now in Vipassana meditation. They say one object after another. That is not the Buddha's method. The Buddha's method is unremitting mindfulness on one object only, because in the Satipatthana Samyutta also, the Buddha stated in one sutta, using the simile of the cook, the Buddha said, a skillful monk who practices the Satipatthana will attain concentration, that means the jhana. Whereas an unskillful monk, meaning one who practices it the wrong way, will not culminate in jhana, will not attain jhana. So if you practice Satipatthana correctly, skillfully, it must end up with the jhanas. So when this year, when he is practicing mindfulness on the breath, practicing unremitting mindfulness, the Buddha says on that occasion, the mindfulness enlightenment factor is aroused in him. In other words, the mindfulness enlightenment factor in the Bojjhanga is also unremitting mindfulness, one-pointed mindfulness that does not run away. Abiding thus mindful, so he examines the Dhamma with wisdom. Here the translation is state, it's not state. It's the Buddha's teachings. Examines the Buddha's teachings with wisdom. Then when you investigate the Buddha's teachings, that is the Dhamma Vichaya, investigation of Dhamma enlightenment factor. So that's how when you're practicing this Satipatthana, you're also practicing these Bojjhanga, they are equivalent. In one who investigates and examines that Dhamma with wisdom and embarks upon a full inquiry into it, tireless energy is aroused. On whatever occasion, tireless energy is aroused in a monk who investigates and examines that Dhamma with wisdom and embarks upon a full inquiry into it. On that occasion, the energy enlightenment factor is aroused in him, and he develops it, and by development it comes to fulfillment in him. In one who has aroused energy, unworldly delight arises. On whatever occasion, unworldly delight arises in a monk who has aroused energy. On that occasion, the delight enlightenment factor is aroused in him, and he develops it, and by development it comes to fulfillment in him. In one who is delighted, the body and the mind become tranquil. On whatever occasion, the body and mind become tranquil in a monk who is delighted. On that occasion, the tranquility enlightenment factor is aroused in him, and he develops it, and by development it comes to fulfillment in him. Stop here for a moment. So we look at paragraph 32. It's talking about this monk now uses energy, virya. So when he uses energy in his practice, that is the energy enlightenment factor. And then when he uses energy in the correct way, then unworldly delight arises. Unworldly delight, last year when we went through the Samyutta Nikaya, we found one sutta, namely Samyutta Nikaya 36.31, under the Vedana Samyutta, where it talks about worldly delight and unworldly delight. Worldly delight refers to the delight that you get when you enjoy worldly pleasure. When you enjoy the 5 chords of sensual pleasure, worldly delight arises. But unworldly delight, it is stated, arises in the first jhana, and it's also found in the second jhana. So Here, because unworldly delight only is found in the first and the second jhana, so here we are talking about the jhana state. So this the delight enlightenment factor, piti, refers to the first jhana, because only in the first jhana or second jhana you can attain it. So here we are stepping into jhana already. After effort is aroused, then using unremitting mindfulness among meditates, using energy and unremitting mindfulness, he attains unworldly delight, piti. So this is the piti enlightenment factor. And then after that, the mind becomes tranquil. The mind becomes tranquil. So this mind becoming tranquil, you can say, can be the first jhana or the second jhana. The second jhana also, because in the second jhana you also have piti, delight, and tranquility. Then in one whose body is tranquil and who feels pleasure, the mind becomes concentrated. On whatever occasion the mind becomes concentrated in a monk whose body is tranquil and who feels pleasure, on that occasion the concentration enlightenment factor is aroused in him, and he develops it, and by development it comes to fulfillment in him. He closely looks on with equanimity at the mind thus concentrated. On whatever occasion a monk closely looks on with equanimity at the mind thus concentrated, on that occasion the equanimity enlightenment factor is aroused in him, and he develops it, and by development it comes to fulfillment in him. Stop here for a moment. So here, if you look at page 900, there's a description of the jhanas. That's the Anupada Sutta, page 900. In one whose body is tranquil and who feels pleasure, the mind becomes concentrated. So here we are talking about, just now we were talking about the second jhana. Mind is tranquil and he feels pleasure. Now he says the mind becomes concentrated. Now we look into the description of the third jhana. Let me see. This paragraph 7 on page 900. Begin monks with the fading away as well of delight. Sariputta abided in equanimity, mindful and fully aware, still feeling pleasure. Third jhana. I think this description is not so complete. Let me see. There must be another sutta. There are some translations where they show that in the third jhana the mind becomes one-pointed, becomes concentrated. I don't know why it's not here, but never mind. So here, this paragraph 35, this mind becomes concentrated and is tranquil, and also you have pleasure. On that occasion, the concentration enlightenment factor is aroused in him. This should refer to the third jhana, when the mind becomes concentrated, concentration enlightenment factor. And then paragraph 36, he looks on with equanimity at the mind that's concentrated. This one, the mind is concentrated and he possesses equanimity. This refers to either the third or the fourth jhana. In the third jhana, there's in the description of the third jhana, if you look at page 900, with the fading away as well of delight, a monk abides in equanimity and mindful and fully aware, still feeling pleasure with the body, enters upon and abides in the third jhana, on account of which noble ones announce he has a pleasant abiding who has equanimity and is mindful. So in the third jhana, you have equanimity, but in the fourth jhana, you have utter purity of equanimity. In the description of the fourth jhana, in the state of the fourth jhana, there is utter purity or perfect purity of equanimity and mindfulness, sati and upekka. So here we are referring either to the third or the fourth jhana. So these bhujangas, these enlightenment factors, the last few factors all have to do with the jhanas. So similarly, the Buddha continues on paragraph 37. Monks, on whatever occasion, among the bias contemplating feelings as in feelings, ardent, fully aware and mindful, having put away covetousness and greed for the world. And then the description is the same as previously, paragraph 30 to 36. And then 38, on monks, on whatever occasion, among the bias contemplating mind in mind, ardent, fully aware and mindful, having put away covetousness and greed for the world. It's the same thing. And also 39, on whatever occasion among the minds contemplating Dhamma in Dhamma, ardent, fully aware. So all these 7 bhujangas are developed. Monks, that is how the 4 intense states of mindfulness developed and cultivated fulfill the 7 enlightenment factors. So whether you practice contemplating the body or feelings or mind or Dhamma, the Buddha says it ends up that you are developing also the 7 enlightenment factors. And how monks do the 7 enlightenment factors develop and cultivated fulfill true knowledge and liberation? Here monks, a monk develops the mindfulness and enlightenment factor, which is supported by seclusion, dispassion and cessation, and ripens in relinquishment. Similarly, he develops the investigation of Dhamma, enlightenment factor, energy, enlightenment factor, delight, enlightenment factor, tranquility, enlightenment factor, concentration, enlightenment factor, equanimity, enlightenment factor, which are supported by seclusion, dispassion and cessation, and ripens in relinquishment. Monks, that is how the 7 enlightenment factors develop and cultivated fulfill true knowledge and liberation. That is what the Blessed One said. The monks were satisfied and delighted in the Blessed One's words. That's the end of the sutta. So you can see from here that this Anapanasati, when you practice Anapanasati, you are, according to the Buddha, you are practicing the 4 Satipatthana. And you develop the 4 Satipatthana, it is equivalent to the 7 Bojjhanga, which ends in true knowledge and liberation. So unfortunately nowadays there are some monks who belittle Anapanasati, but this is the Buddha's own method of meditation, and which the Buddha praises. So this is a very important sutta. Later when you have time, you go through it slowly and you understand more. Say again. 251. Let's see. Yeah, but it's the same description. It's the same. Okay. Well, we have done 51 minutes, so maybe we should stop here, because the next sutta is also a very important sutta. So we don't want to go too fast. So let's just recap this Anapanasati sutta. The Buddha said, monks, when mindfulness of breathing is developed and cultivated, it is of great fruit and great benefit. When mindfulness of breathing is developed and cultivated, it fulfills the 4 Satipatthana. And the 4 Satipatthanas are developed and cultivated. They fulfill the 7 enlightenment factors. When the 7 enlightenment factors are developed and cultivated, they fulfill true knowledge and liberation. In other words, if you develop fully Anapanasati, it leads to true knowledge and liberation, which is what the Buddha achieved. Because the Buddha's method was just Anapanasati, and he used that to remember his past lives. And when he remembered his past lives, all the Dhamma he learned from the Buddha Kassapa came back to him. And when he reflected on the 4 noble truths, then he attained enlightenment. And then you have this description of the Anapanasati. But this description of the Anapanasati into, they call it 16 steps. You don't have to worry about practicing it one by one. It's just important is just practice Anapanasati, and these things will fall into place. It should fall into place. And then after that, the Buddha described how he says that mindfulness of breathing is equivalent to the 4 Satipatthana. Firstly, the Buddha says mindfulness of the breath is mindful of a body, the breath body. And then secondly, when you perceive certain feelings, delight, pleasure and all that, you are practicing meditation on feelings. And also because when you give close attention to breathing, the breath is a certain kind of feeling. The breath itself coming in and out of the body is a certain kind of feeling. That's why mindfulness of breathing is also considered contemplation of feeling. And thirdly, when you practice mindfulness of breathing, you are mindful. Your mind has not run away. So because you are mindful, then the Buddha says you are practicing contemplation of the mind. And also when you attain certain high states of meditation, then you're experiencing the mind itself. And lastly, when you contemplate the Dhamma, then and you're breathing in and out, then you are practicing the 4th object of Satipatthana. And then later the Buddha described how the practice of this 4 Satipatthanas using the breath is equivalent to fulfilling the 7 Bojjhanga, 7 enlightenment factors. Okay, we stop here for tonight. Anything to discuss? Contemplating the Dhamma from the first step itself can go together with the meditation. You see, when we sit in meditation, we should always practice samatha, try to achieve one-pointedness of mind. But when we are not sitting in meditation, then we can contemplate feelings, we can contemplate the state of our mind, we can contemplate the Dhamma when you are not sitting. But when you are sitting, you always try to achieve one-pointedness of mind, try to sharpen your mind. No. When your mind comes down, you must pursue it until you can attain the various jhanas. What is taught nowadays by a lot of meditation teachers is that when you are sitting, you contemplate the other objects of Satipatthana. But I don't think so, because this samatha, to attain the jhanas, you can only attain the jhanas in sitting meditation. So because of that, when you are sitting in meditation, you should only try to attain the jhanas. And then when you are not sitting, for example, you are sitting in a bus, or you are driving a car, then you can contemplate the other objects of Satipatthana.
When we come to the practice sometimes as the poor awareness of slowly, sometimes it is, and then sometimes it comes on, you start reminding the various parts into shift. One at that stage, abandoning and come back to the one, concentrating on just the mindfulness on the breath, or should we continue? Very often I find that once in a while, my mind breathes into
When you are practicing the meditation, sitting meditation, it's stated here, you should have unremitting mindfulness. Unremitting mindfulness on one object. For example, on your breath. But if it so happens that you find it hard to pay attention to your object of meditation, and some sutta comes to your mind, if you feel that you may benefit from recollecting that sutta, then you go ahead. But if you're sure you're going to get some benefit out of it, otherwise don't just think of any Dhamma. You're supposed to pay attention, undivided attention on just your meditation object.
No, that's a good question. When we some meditation, we are being mindful of it. At the same time, we are also mindful of the type of time we will come to. So, when we are having a broad sort of movement, should it be that way, or should we just shut off the movement?
Shut it off. Shut it off. Because you're supposed to pay unremitting mindfulness, one thing. The other thing that you notice when the description of the Satipatthana, practice of Satipatthana, you're supposed to contemplate the body in the body. When you're contemplating the body, the breath body, and then your nimitta, whatever, or thoughts or something come into your mind, and you pay attention, you are contemplating your object of meditation, which is your breath body, among your thoughts, among your nimitta and all these things. You are not practicing contemplation of the body in the body. So when you practice Satipatthana, you're supposed to contemplate the body in the body, not among thoughts, among this and that. One pointed out, as Venerable Thanissaro translates, contemplating the body in and of itself. In and of itself, not among thoughts and among other objects. You can do that. A lot of people, when the mind starts straying, they are paying attention to the breath. At the same time, they think of their office. At the same time, they think of their children. All these things. That is not the contemplating the body in the body. Only one object. No 2 or 3 or 4 objects. That's because you're not paying enough attention. You must realize sometimes because the nimitta is quite interesting. For example, light, color or something. So some people they are attracted by that. So they go and pay attention. Also because of greed, they think, wow, this nimitta. So they think it's something good. But you must understand that nimitta arises because you have been paying attention to your breath. Now you keep paying attention to your breath, that nimitta may become brighter. If you go and pay attention to that light nimitta or color nimitta or whatever, due to greed, then that will disappear. If it doesn't disappear, then you are imagining. Some people like to imagine. They imagine hard enough. Whatever you want to imagine, our mind is very powerful. Whatever you want to imagine, you can imagine. That's why, like in the Zen meditation schools of early China, Chan Chung, they say more lie, more Chan, 4 lie, 4 Chan. And Mara comes, you cut him off. And the Buddha comes also, you cut him off. In others, whatever you see, whatever you hear, or just ignore it. It's trying to distract you. I think yesterday we went through that sutta where the Buddha says that to practice the Noble Eightfold Path, you must start with right view. So the foundation in the Dhamma is extremely important. If you don't have a good foundation in the Dhamma, you might be practicing the wrong way and you are not aware of it. So the Dhamma is our teacher. The Buddha says after he has entered Nibbana, take the suttas as your teacher. So you must have a very good foundation in the suttas. A lot of people go straight into meditation. That's not advisable if you don't have a solid foundation in the Dhamma. You must know the suttas very well. Then only you start to practice. Don't be greedy. A lot of people are greedy. They want to achieve something that they can see, just like worldly people. They chase after money because you can see money in here and now. I talk about blessings in the future life. A lot of people don't. Because cannot see future life blessings, rebirth in heaven and all that. They cannot see. But you can see now, people want. So in the same way, a lot of people come into the holy practice, and they want to sit in meditation, want to achieve jhana, want to achieve jnana, want to achieve psychic power and all these things, because of greed. So must follow the Buddha's instructions and get right view first, have a good foundation in the Dhamma. Of course, if you want to practice meditation to sharpen your mind, can. But remember, must be combined with the suttas, knowledge of the suttas. This last night, our Giorgio mentioned about practicing something and developing it. So, like right view, we have to develop that right view also, and there are different levels. A person who has attained the first path, he has achieved right view, but his right view is the right view of a stream enterer, first path attainer, which is different from the right view of an arahant. Just as a person who has attained stream entry, by achieving right view, he has attained wisdom. But that wisdom, compared to the arahant, is shallow wisdom. Just like the concentration of a stream enterer. If he has attained the first jhana, he has some concentration. But that also is low compared to the concentration of an arahant. So when we attain right view, as a first path attainer, we still have to develop it. It takes time to develop before it becomes equivalent to the right view of an arahant. So when a person attains stream entry, that right view means he has eliminated some avijja, some ignorance, but not 100%. If he has eliminated ignorance 100%, he would have become an arahant. Because there's one sutta in the Samyutta Nikaya where the Buddha says, all unwholesome states arise from ignorance. And when ignorance is totally eliminated, all unwholesome states are eliminated. But a person, when he has attained stream entry, even though he has a certain amount of right view, certain degree of right view, has he eliminated all the unwholesome states? He has not. He has not eliminated all the defilements. Only the Arahant has eliminated all the defilements. So that's why only the Arahant has completely eliminated 100% ignorance. Whereas even the fourth path attainer has not eliminated, or Anagamin has not eliminated 100% ignorance. So this elimination of ignorance is at different stages for different levels of Aryahood.
Then after that, concentrate on the process. You have read up to 150 times for Nikaya. The Buddha is not so hard to touch. Where you should stop from first jhana and then go into concentration.
Just now I did mention that study of the Dhamma can begin from the beginning. Anyone who comes into the Buddha's teachings, you can start learning the Dhamma, and at the same time you can start meditation also, just to sharpen your mind, to make your mind more focused. But I also mentioned that the priority is the Dhamma. Then I also mentioned that when we sit down in meditation, we should only contemplate one object to attain one pointedness of mind. And we saw, I don't know whether we have come across that there's one sutta where the Buddha says that when his disciples, he encouraged them to attain the jhanas. So when he says when the disciple has attained the first jhana, the Buddha said that is not sufficient. The Buddha says to surmount that, to go higher than that. Then after that, the disciple attains the second jhana. Then the Buddha says that even that also not enough. The third jhana, even that also not enough. Fourth jhana, and then the Buddha says fourth jhana also not enough. Let's get the base of boundless space. Even that also not enough. Base of boundless consciousness. That also not enough. Try to get base of nothingness. That also not enough. Try to get base of neither perception nor non-perception. And even that the Buddha says not enough. If you can, and attain the cessation of perception and feeling. And when you come out of that, you automatically become an Arahant. So the Buddha's teaching in the suttas is that even the first path, this what you call it, assess concentration or first jhana is not enough. You have to achieve higher. In the Buddha's teachings, the concentration, the minimum which you achieve is the four jhanas, because it is stated in some sutta that when you attain the four jhanas, everything becomes very clear to you. You can see things very, very clearly. So it's not a matter of attaining assess concentration, then come out of it and then contemplate. Because you can contemplate any time. Once you have achieved the assess concentration or the first jhana, you have eliminated the five hindrances. And when you have eliminated the five hindrances, you don't have to come out immediately after that state of concentration and contemplate. Any time after that, you are already rid of the 5 hindrances. Any time you contemplate, you can see things more clearly than someone who has not achieved access concentration, who has not achieved the first jhana. So it's not necessary to come out of it immediately and contemplate. Any time you can contemplate. Okay. Okay, shall we end here?